Ian, 2017 is officially the I told you so Pat year. Because at the end of 2016, when you were convalescing, the beginning of the convalesce, a lot of people were coming out and talking about how Nintendo's dead. Nintendo's gone. They're doomed.
No good. Switch is bad. It's gonna be bad.
Worst business decisions ever. I'd be good in the video game business. Anyway, so, but you had strange videos come out, like Matt Pat doing a video with Reggie Fils-Aimé arguing about why Nintendo shouldn't go third party. Like I don't know why Nintendo thought that was a good idea, but they did it. The whole point is that the Switch was a sort of unknown weird entity to a lot of people, and they thought, well, it's because the Wii U was a failure. Nintendo's done forever on hardware, even though we speculated, and I speculated, like, well, it's at least going to do as well as the Wii U. It'll probably do better than the GameCube, and my prediction at the time were like 35 to 45 million units. Somewhere in between Wii and the GameCube, probably, because people that had the Wii didn't know about the Wii U, so they might get back into it. A lot of factors going on.
Well, my whole thing was, without knowing anything, we couldn't really freaking say anything anyways.
Exactly. At least. The whole point is that Nintendo wasn't going to be doomed because they could start burning dollars and wiping their asses with the yen, and it wouldn't matter.
Businesses have bounced back from bad consoles before. They've gone from leading the pack to behind the pack to leading the pack again. It's not that crazy.
So we come here, a March release, mind you, for a system, which is tougher to start with because it's spring. You don't have money in March. You gotta buy flowers and Easter baskets. I don't know what you buy in March.
Chickens, tiny little baby chicks.
Little chicks. You have to grow up and you kill before Halloween. Anyway, that was a little dark.
Mm-hmm.
So the Switch comes out, does gangbusters, sells out, still selling well. Breath of the Wild, 10 out of 10. Odyssey's going to sell 1 billion copies. Nintendo's in pretty good shape now. They're on their way to, I think, a $1 billion year.
Yeah. I think more than just over $1 billion
in revenue, which is insane. And then, according to this Nintendo Life article and other sources that because Nintendo had a sales call recently, had a 6-month financial results briefing. Nintendo Switch are trending well above the Wii U. And remember, when the week started, the Wii U was released in December.
Yeah.
And the Wii was released, I think, in November when it came out. So if it's better than where the Wii U was before the holiday season is even starting, that's a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's like a way better. If you look at the trend lines where it's at. So right now on this graph, so week 33. Oh, the Wii U and the Wii were both released November 19th and 18th respectively of 2006, 2012. Okay. So March 3rd for the Switch. In week 33 of all three systems, when you look at the sell-through for thousands of units, it's well above the Wii U. It's about, let's see, it's about 100% more than where the Wii U was, and it's not that far behind the Wii. Like, not that far. And again, this is before a holiday season.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
God, that Wii U line is just...
It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
That Wii U line was like, oh, the first 3 weeks are the holidays, and then it's just stagnant. No growth. Like, they're selling systems, but just stagnant. It's really bad. Really bad. It was done by that spring, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's doing great. I mean, look, this is blowing Nintendo. It's just stating the facts.
Yeah.
About where the system was versus all the experts predicting it. And by the way, it's like with sports. When you're wrong with these predictions, it's not like they take away your prediction card for other future. You can still bloviate and have awful predictions. You're not held accountable for a year later on your predictions. You're not. It's like when you make a new prediction, people are like, oh, well, you're not allowed to because you fucked up badly on that Switch. Doesn't happen. And I'm not saying I'm a genius for figuring this out, but to me, it was...
Really, you had 2 guesses, okay? I mean...
No, but there was a lot of common sense data up to this point that the Switch was going to be at least a moderate success.
Right.
And this is before it comes out, and people are just like, whoa, where's the third parties? Well, they're coming on board.
Faster now. Although EA is still like, man, we need to see.
Well, yeah, no, EA can blow me if you want.
Well, they can. Yeah, that's
bloviation and blow me because EA kicked the Wii U in the nuts, which they could have had a right to. But at least for this, it's like, how much longer do you really need to hedge your bets?
Right.
After like January, when they're gonna surpass, Wii U numbers probably by the early spring. Like what? Like when do you want to wait until to say like, okay, this looks like it's going to be a decent.
Yeah, how many?
system.
7.4 million consoles, I believe, is what they've said. They've stated has been sold, as per the last numbers. 7.4 million Switches. So after the holiday
In
season,
7 months before a holiday season.
Yep.
That's pretty significant.
That's insane. And I was one of those ones who was very worried and very skittery over them.
Skittery?
I think skittery is a good word for me. Over them releasing in March. I was very, very nervous about that because I was afraid that I knew it was a gamble with potentially a big payoff, and I think we're going to see that this holiday season, but I was afraid that it could potentially have the same Wii U problem, even though the Wii U was trying to be bolstered by holiday, in so much that it was going to fall flat before it had a chance to live.
Because there wasn't enough
there wasn't
games
enough
available.
there wasn't enough stuff coming out fast enough to keep people interested in it until Christmas. Well, that turned out to be a fucking false. So that's great. And yeah.
By the way, that $1 billion is profit, not revenue, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why, Matt, Pat, you still do hardware sales.
Yeah.
That's why.
Fucking people.
That's why you don't go third party.
I'm a better businessman than everyone else.
I'm sorry you want to see Mario Odyssey on your PS4, but unless you're a fucking idiot.
This is why Nintendo does this stuff. But yeah, I mean, $1 billion just tidy back in the bank. But yeah, so anyways.
Which is double their prediction they made. The company, usually Nintendo, the trend for the past years with the Wii U was like, oh, we have to cut back our forecast. Ooh, this isn't. You ever seen all those reports?
Yeah.
All those reports like, oh, we're not doing as well. They actually bumped up their
forecasts.
Their forecast almost double.
Mm-hmm. That's not a Nintendo move.
No, Nintendo's pretty conservative. So they're like, oh, they're right.
But
by the way, while we're talking about this, I was looking at the top seller of in October. What's been reported, the top console seller was the Super Nintendo Classic.
Oh, really?
Was the overall top seller. So they sold like the 2 million that went out.
Oh, that's
So
crazy.
that was the top for the month. That beat out all the modern consoles, and that beat out the Switch even for the month, which makes sense when you think about it.
So we are calling plug and plays consoles now.
I'm just saying that's what the report was.
Okay.
I'm not saying
but still, that's crazy.
It sold the most.
That's pretty insane.
So that's money.
More
that's
than
money.
PS4s, Switches, Xboxes. That's nuts.
I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, those consoles have been out for years. So how many millions could they sell in 1 month?
True.
You know, so it's just an interesting tale. That and again, EA is being weird about it still. I mean, it's almost like they're the spurn lovers. Like, yeah, like how much more do you want Nintendo to do before like, okay, this is.
Well, then they released that FIFA 18, and from what I heard, it was a really shitty. Like they didn't give a fuck about it.
So they're already hedging their bets.
So I mean, if they're not going to put effort into stuff, and then they're going to go based on like sales or reviews of the stuff that they really, I mean. They're making a self-fulfilling prophecy for themselves.
But then I feel bad though because that's not evidence that the Switch is doing bad. It's just a company that doesn't want to do it to begin with.
Right. If they don't want to, then just say you don't want to.
But why don't you just do a fucking decent port?
I don't know. And
people will probably buy it. Maybe there's people in there's some soccer fans in the U.S. But I mean put it out in Europe and people will buy it if they want the on-the-go action, right? So anything else about this? We're going to be passing Wii U sales numbers probably by the spring, which is like not even 14 million will be past it.
I actually thought it was like I think it was
Wii U sales numbers. What is the overall sales? Was it like?
We kept saying like 13.5. I think it was closer to 14.
13.56.
Okay.
So soon we'll just say if the Switch hits 14 by next year, which it will. It's going to break through that, and then where do you see it ending up now? Being that it's doing better than what people expect, do you think it'll hit 50, 60? We'll get close to a 3DS sort of thing.
It's too tough, I think, to say.
Too tough to say.
I think we need to see once they officially are like, okay, we're done with the 3DS, which is taking them longer than I would think.
Because it's hanging on,
which is okay. I love the 3DS. I'm not one of those people who was like, oh, this game should have come out for the Switch. No, I know I'm okay. I think the 3DS has its market.
It's being transitioned into like the budget system.
Yeah,
right?
and
that's the kiddie system.
And that's okay.
You know the kiddies will play Switch as well. But you see what I'm saying.
But I want to see what they do with that And if they really do, I was talking about with people when we were in Portland, and they were like, didn't think about that. That would be interesting. If they do like a Switch Mini or something like that, if they do, and they really do keep the Switch in line as the hybrid console, but they really maybe do like a smaller one as kind of like a portable, like we have discussed before, then yeah, I can easily see this, doing insane numbers.
All right, I might have to readjust my projection up from 35 to 45.
Well,
Maybe.
if they leave us with no other option for handheld, then I think we all of a sudden gain a huge boost in handheld sales.
Sure.
We gain a huge chunk of that market.
Sure. And I think the other number you have to look at, which is going to... Because I saw some people saying that, they only sold 2 million in the U.S. to this point, I think, which was by early October. Like, what's the big deal? And it's like, first of all, they released it in March. Second of all, you have to go back and look at like what PS4 sales were and Xbox One sales were for the first like 6 months, and they're not like that far out of that range, and those included holiday releases. A lot of those other consoles, to begin with. So once you factor those in, it's like, and plus Switch has some supply issues, so you can make an argument they could have sold more if there was more out there, but you don't know. The whole point is that it's doing gangbusters. Pat told you so, and Ian probably did too while he was convalescing.
I do want to touch on one more thing here about the Switch, and it actually goes back into what we were talking about, numbers, sales, and me thinking about handhelds. Nintendo Switch, it's been revealed through a poll. It was reported on a couple of sites. I'm looking at the report on Eurogamer.net, that the Switch is slightly more popular. Switch's handheld mode is more popular than playing on TV docked. Now, when the system came out, for whatever reason, I got a pretty violent backlash on this one. But I had stated that just through, my experiences at the store, it seemed like people were, at the time, while obviously docking it and playing on the TV, did seem to be appreciating it more as a handheld. They were using it more on the go, or, curling up in bed or on the couch and playing it that way. And for whatever reason, it was just like, well, just because you do that doesn't mean I use it on the TV. It was just a very weird thing. And people like to really get mad at me about certain weird stuff sometimes.
If you're taking the time to leave Ian a nasty comment on YouTube... First of all, I encourage it. No, okay. The whole point is that you're not... That's the type of person that's doing that. That's all I'm going to say.
Right. But, no, so it is interesting to see because it's funny. I've actually been using it a bit more docked now. But, yeah, so there is always this market, I think. What this says to me is that...
this is from Nintendo released this information.
Yeah. What this says to me is that the hybrid console gamble paid off hugely for them, because while the portable mode is more popular, from what I'm hearing, it's only by a bit. It was just slightly more popular. Okay. So it means that it's kind of 50-50. But it also shows to me that there is still a huge demand for being able to have a Nintendo device that you take with you on the go that is upgraded and newer.
So half the people, looks like according to this graph, about half the people play both.
Right.
And then about 30% primary mode is tabletop or handheld. And then you have about 20% where TV mode is primary. So it's about like, okay, so you have some people, primary TV, they're using it as what they expected it to be.
Right. But I think
it's paying off.
And
there's stupid hipsters on the rooftops at their parties playing it. That's actually how it's being in the commercials. That's actually how it's being used.
Norm and I at Game On Expo did it at the bar the one night when we were bored. We just sat at the fucking bar and
played a fighting game, right?
And we tabletopped it and we played some fighting games while drinking beers.
I should have got up my DSLR and did a commercial, you guys. Could have been Norm and Ian on the commercial playing King of Fighters or the hell you were playing.
It was King of Fighters and Waku Waku 7 or something like that. But yeah, so it is great. But I think what's interesting is, like I said, people want this stuff on the move as well. So if Nintendo does not replace the 3DS with something, which I don't think they will, I see them maybe remodeling the Switch. A mini Switch.
It'll be a mini Switch.
Then we see the numbers for the Switch go to the moon.
Then you can definitely say, okay, this is going to hit Wii numbers of 100 million.
I think it could potentially
because you'll combine both markets back into one.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Which is what I said too back in my rants without you. I missed you, Ian. That was tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough time, Ian. Did you just listen to me when you're
No.
cuddled? You never listened to me do my podcast?
I mean,
myself?
I did, but not a lot.
So I have to deal with. Thanks for the support, Ian.
I don't listen to a lot of one-person podcasts.
It's your fucking podcast too.
I don't listen to one person talk.
You.
I listen to a lot of the important. I listen to the Nintendo ones.